Did it again. All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Whiskey Dictionary. Tonight, I've got a pretty fun little show for you. I decided to do an impromptu live stream because I have had this idea in my head for a little bit. Let me just kind of check out what's going on. There we go. We got Tom R in the stream. Excellent. So, I might be a little bit loud. Let me just deal with that. You know, really wish Russ, you did not get first. ASMR. You're funny, man. All right. So tonight I have a stream for you. I know this is a little last minute, but I found myself here on a Tuesday night with not a whole heck of a lot to do and some whole heck of a lot of Islay whiskey to drink, and thought I would share it with you guys. This is going to be a very low-key kind of night. I've got a few things I want to talk about, but nothing overly, dramatic. Mostly just wanted to hang and have some whiskey with you guys. So let's say a couple people. Russ. So we've got Tom R, we got Russ, we got Exploring with ASMR, we've got no idea, Toll V Thomas, and we've got Whiskey Throttle. Hey, what's going on? All right, so as I said, I am going to be drinking Ardbeg tonight, and specifically their main core expressions. So I've got the 10, and I will be drinking all of these tonight because why not? I've got the Ano, I've got the Uigeadail, and I also have the Corryvreckan. So I've got a heck of a lineup here. I will put these right there. I'm going to start with the 10, move to the Ano, the Uigeadail, and then the Corryvreckan. So I will say that I just had a very low volume, huh? All right, let's see. I did turn it down a little bit because it looked like I was spiking a bit. I can turn it up just a tad. Thanks, Barry. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty excited about this little guy here, too. Now, funny thing, I just realized that I actually have recorded an episode that I have not yet released that I didn't realize I had already recorded. So I do know that it was on a day where I recorded 5 episodes in one day. So I'm not positive of the quality, but I would guess it's probably okay. And I will say that it is on the, where are you? The Ano. Yeah, so that will be coming out probably probably 2 weeks from now, actually. So this Friday, let's see. I'll answer this in a second. This Friday, I'm going to be putting out a video. You guys may have remembered one of my, I think maybe my second live stream I ever did. It was the Paul John Brilliance, and I decided to finally do an actual review of it because that bottle's been hanging around for a while, and I had actually forgotten how good that bottle really is. So I'm actually pretty excited to put that one out there. So let's see. We've got 10 people in the, 23 people so far. All right, let's see what we got. We got Happy 4th, Dreamer. Thanks. Are you from the States, Dreamer? I'm curious. Let's see. We've got Mr. Bojangles. I used to have a fish named Mr. Bojangles. It was a kind of like a mini catfish. I used to have four fish. I had Spoot, Mr. Bojangles, Spiffy, and Bubba. And let's see. Mr. Bojangles ended up eating. Actually, Spoot ended up eating 2 of the fish, and then Mr. Bojangles, I think, just died or whatever, but I used to have a snail named Gary, too. Anyway, Mr. Bojangles, great name. So, let's see, Russ. I love peat whiskey. Now, they say that all roads lead to Islay, and I couldn't agree more. A lot of people will start with bourbon, especially in the States, or Scotch if you're kind of maybe outside of the States, where it doesn't really matter. Either way, everybody's always seeking that next big thing. And, maybe you go to a rye if you're from bourbon land, and or maybe you go to peaty whiskey if you're drinking more Scotch. But one way or another, I think everybody tries Islay, and whether you like it the first time you try it, I find that most people like it eventually. I think the reason for that, hypothesizing, I haven't even started drinking yet, is that we all love bold flavors, I personally love black coffee, right? And actually, on a total side note, you guys probably saw I have some merchandise now, and that was actually the what do you call it? The muse for one of my shirts. It says coffee black, whiskey neat. And I ordered one of those shirts already actually for myself. I'm kind of excited about that one. I also have a bunch of other stuff, but I won't bug you guys too much about the merch at the moment. I do want to talk about it later though. So let's see what else we've got. Happy 4th. My dad's name is Bubba actually. That's pretty funny. Good evening, great lineup. Finally made it back to a live stream. Yeah, Tyler, I don't know if it was you or somebody else the other night. I was in whose was it? Maybe it was Scotch Test Dummies. Somebody was asking me like, hey Bill, when are you going to do another live stream? You know, I think it was on Malted in Montreal. And, you know, kind of occurred to me, hey, I haven't done one in a while. I wish that I could be a little bit more consistent with it. It's just tough. So I'm going to start off on the Ardbeg 10. So let's go into this. And I figured I'd keep all the boxes here for presentation's sake. So don't mind the noises coming through the mic. There we go. So got the Ardbeg 10. For those of you who have not had this, or possibly don't know a whole heck of a lot about it, although I suspect that anybody who's tuning into this stream probably knows quite a bit about Ardbeg. Actually, this is an unopened bottle. So I was sent all 4 of these bottles by Ardbeg, and I had already reviewed the Ardbeg 10. Actually, it was one of the videos I kind of gave them to consider when I contacted them. And they ended up sending me these other 3 and a full bottle of the Ardbeg 10 anyway. It was a highlight for me for sure when I got it at work. I walked around showing everybody that would pay attention to me, saying, hey, everybody, look at, I just got $200 worth of whiskey for free, yay. So anyway, pretty fun. Let's see. Hey, Bourbon Journey, what's going on, man? Let's see. We've got, I'm so thirsty and still at work. Oh, Whiskey Throttle. I'm so sad to hear that, buddy. When do you get off? Do you get off soon, hopefully? Let's see. First time was, oh, heck no, 2 months later. Oh, yeah. What is, I'm not sure what that was. Yeah, I know, right? It was pretty sweet. I've gotten a few packages like that. And actually, one of the videos I'll be putting out next week, as I always say, you guys tune into the live stream, you get to know some privileged information because that's just the way you are. One of the videos I will be putting out next week is on a whiskey called Corryvreckan, which is a Japanese whiskey. And I'll probably be putting that video out on Wednesday if everything goes well. And it's really actually very good. It's from a smaller distillery. I'm eager to talk to you guys about it. And they sent me a bottle, as well as Glenmorangie sent me a bottle of their Signet, which, holy crap. I can't wait to talk about that one in a video. I have a feeling that it's mostly just going to be me drooling the whole time. But all right, so without further ado, let us jump into the Ardbeg. Actually, no, I am going to ado slightly more. I want to hear, while I am taking my first sip of this, you guys all have your chat ready. Tell me what you're drinking tonight. You know, it's 4th of July tomorrow. I know a lot of you guys are in the States. Most of you don't have to work tomorrow, so there's no reason not to drink unless you've got reasons not to drink. So tell me what you're drinking tonight. No Kelpie, no grooves. But I do have an opinion on the grooves anyway. Yeah, all right. So cheers to all of you who showed up to the stream on last minute notice. So cheers. Actually, boy, you'd think I never did this before. Let me talk a little bit about the nose. So as I said, some of you may not be as familiar with Ardbeg. Maybe you've never quite jumped into it. I don't want to assume that you guys know a whole lot about anything that I review, because that's kind of the whole point. So Ardbeg is an extremely smoky whiskey. It's kind of the whole point. It smells of peat, right? So peat moss, as most of you will know, grows anywhere that's kind of wet, but it in general, if you burn it over malted barley, then it imparts kind of a very smoky flavor and nose to your whiskey. So one of the biggest things that you're going to get out of nosing any Ardbeg, except possibly the Corryvreckan, which I'll get into later, is a lot of peat. Anyway, so when nosing this, smoke should be the first thing you get. So I actually shouldn't swirl it quite so much, but obviously smoke. I'm done saying that over and over again. But one of the bigger other things that I get from this is just the sea. Like it smells like a really salty ocean. Almost like, you guys ever been sailing before, or at least out on a boat? So I scuba dive. I've mentioned that a few times on the live stream. And when you find yourself out further away than, like almost to the point where you can barely see the land, just right out in the middle of the ocean, that salty air that you get there, that's what this smells like to me. It's very robust in how much salt there is to it. It's very briny, I guess is a good way to put it. So, actually the notes that I put in here is it's like pouring salt water on a fire. So, let's go ahead and take a sip. So, once again, the salt water and the peat are what you get immediately out of this. But if you kind of look past those, there's kind of like a, what do you want to say? It's a very light whiskey, which is a odd thing to say with how much peat there is. You're going to get that peat immediately. It's going to smack you in the face. But right after that, it almost dissipates, almost to say like, all right, you've gotten past that. This is what I really taste like. And for me, it's just a very light, kind of almost earthiness to it, but almost like picture driving on a dirt road, and maybe you've got a heavy vehicle like a truck or something. You're driving down this dirt road and you're kicking up lots of dust and dirt, and then you stop with your windows down, and there's just that dirty particulate kind of in the air. You kind of taste it. That's what I get from this whiskey. That mixed with sea salt with smoke. It's a very interesting taste, and there's a reason a lot of people like Ardbeg 10. All right, so I am way behind on this chat. Let's see. Somebody said gummy bears is what they're drinking tonight, so that's interesting. Yeah, so Whiskey Throttle, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, buddy. I was at work about 2.5 hours longer than I intended today. So as I've mentioned before, I'm a manager, so I've got way more responsibility than most, and I let my whole team go at 3 o'clock today. But of course, I was there till about 5:30. So and just it's tough. It comes with the territory, and I get it, but sometimes it's a little much. Anyway, so yes, it's very clear. You have a very good point. Almost clear as a Japanese whiskey, actually. Actually, one thing you can't even see it against my head. I should really turn this light down here, huh? It's too bright. It's all right. I don't care. So let's see. We've got clear for 10, blah, blah, blah. ECB. All right. Nice. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof 518. So I don't know that I've ever tried the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, actually. I'm a little jealous of you right there, Bourbon. So you got Rittenhouse. What do you think of that, Joe? It was one that I recommended on my rye beginner guide recently. I'm curious what you think. Drinking pineapple flavored water. Okay, so you're still at work till 11, but pineapple flavored water tastes good. Do you do one of those water bottles with the pineapple in it, or is it actually pineapple flavored water? Wow. Okay. So Mr. Bojangles, you're in there with me, buddy. You got the Ardbeg 10. He says he's got the Ardbeg 10, the Kalila Talisker. So this dude is a PD god here. And he just moved to bourbon with Woodford Reserve. I would be surprised if you could even taste the Woodford at this point. Certainly think that would be a bit dull. But, the double oak would probably stand up to all that peatiness, at least giving you something to taste. So let's see. We've got Dark Cove. Nice. Oberon, Jim Beam, Bottle of Bond. Wow, a lot of drinkers out there. I'm very happy to see. Monkey Shoulders. So Fight for Sound, absolutely. Bust out the Ardbeg, buddy. Which one do you have? Because I'll wait for you if you're gonna take one out. Drinking the 10. Wow, a lot of you guys have Ardbeg. Very impressed. Who do we have in here? So Noah's Mill. Okay, nice whiskey. I actually that was on I was looking up some whiskeys earlier today. Noah's Mill was on one of the top 10 bourbons that you've got to try kind of list, and I have not had that one before, so it kind of made my list. Burn it over my barley. I don't know. Hey Bill, love the smoke. Hey Dad, what's going on? Simplify, Dwayne, blah blah blah. Okay, so anyway, I do have an order that I want to drink these, but I will leave it more, I think I'm going to leave it more up to you guys. So I planned this in an order of, I kind of had to start with the 10 because it's the 10, it's the starter, you know, it makes sense. But I do have these 3 expressions here. I've got the Ano, the Uigeadail, and the Corryvreckan. So I will go by popular demand. Which one do you guys want me to have next? Now, somebody had asked me, or mentioned that they had grooves and asked my opinion about it. I think I am in the dramatic minority here, but I will say that I was unimpressed by the grooves, and it made me sad to say that. The only reason that I think I might not be alone in that opinion is that, I mean, I think a bottle of grooves goes for over $100, maybe like 120, 110, 130, somewhere in there. And at that price, let me start over. So there's a place called Julio's Liquors in Westboro, Massachusetts, and that's kind of my stomping ground as far as exploring new, harder to get whiskeys. They don't support the channel or anything, but let me just say, like, they're freaking awesome. Their prices are a little bit high, but they are very, very good at what they do. And they generally make whiskey and drinking and stuff fun. They have events all the time. For example, I'll talk to you guys about one I went to recently, but for the Ardbeg Grooves, they actually had Ardbeg kind of come out and present grooves and kind of introduce it, and they had samples, and I think I had like 3 or 4 samples actually. I just kind of kept going up and getting it because I really wanted to give it a fair shake. And the first time that I had it, I was surprised by how dull I found it. That's interesting to know, Eric. Eric says that he agrees that grooves was a little dull, but Scotch Test Dummies actually really liked it. Anyway, so I found it to be a little bit dull, and I was very surprised because it's Ardbeg, right? If nothing else, it shouldn't be dull. So my first thought was, okay, maybe I was expecting something different. Let me try a second dram of it. And I will say that even after the second dram, it didn't really get much different, and that was disappointing to me. So, you know, I tried it a couple more times, and I will also admit that after the second dram, I went and had some barbecue. So at that point, my taste buds are shot anyway. But I was like, okay, let me just kind of try this in all different situations. But I guess where I was going with all this is, despite the price, they sold a lot of them the day that they actually had the event. And I think they said that they had like something like 60 bottles. From what I understand, they almost sold out of them. But I went back to Julio's Liquors. It was like only a few days later, which I think was about, so Ardbeg Day was what, June 1st or June 10th, something like that. And I just went back. It was basically like a month later. And they had like 5 bottles sitting on the shelf. And it was as deep as the shelf goes. So either they're keeping them well stocked or people aren't buying it. I'm not sure. But either way, I'm interested to see what you guys think if you've tried the grooves, whether you like it or not. I think you've got a good point, Eric. So for those that don't know, Eric Waite, he's another whiskey tuber. He's a great guy and actually has a great channel. He actually just got back from a trip over to Scotland where he did a whole bunch of distillery tours, including, I don't know if you actually went to Ardbeg, Eric. I kind of fell off of following you for a little bit, but I do know that you went to Islay. So anyway, he's got a great channel. If you guys don't know him, at least check him out and see what you think. Subscribe if you want. He's at about 2,500 subs, so he's no slacker. All right, let's see what did anybody. All right, so we've got 1 vote for the Uigeadail. Let's see what else we've got. All right, so I guess there's 1 vote. I'm a little surprised. You guys are boring. Oh, we got 1 vote for the No. I'm going to give it just 1 more minute for you guys to vote on what you'd like me to do next, and I will pick something. I will say I don't have a bottle of Booker's off to the side like I normally would. I do still have a bottle of Booker's, but I did not put it off to the side tonight because I just thought that would kind of screw up the tasting of the Ardbeg. Plus, if you're doing a flight, you actually want to kind of stay on topic. So, all right, I'm going to go with the No. We got the Uigeadail and the No both got 1 vote. I would prefer to go to the No. So here we go. All right. So very similar bottle. Actually looks pretty much identical. I will say these 2 bottles are slightly larger, slightly taller. Anyway, probably a little bit skinnier if you think about it that way, or they just fill it a little bit less. So let's get this going. Now, ooh, that's a heavy pour. Oh well. At least it drinks easy. So the color on this guy is a little bit darker, as you can see. And if I remember correctly, we're going to see a progression throughout these 4. But I could be wrong. Oh, you guys voted. All right, so, well, either way, I'm doing the Uigeadail next. So you guys will, you'll get that. You'll get your wish. All right. So the nose on this is considerably different than the Ardbeg 10 in that you do not get smoke as the first thing that you see, or first thing that jeez. I was going to say, I said see, I was going to say taste, like first thing you feel. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, the first thing that you nose, you do not get smoke. You actually get more of a lemon, or at least I do. You know what it actually smells like a bit, and I'm just looking at my notes real quick. I didn't pick this up the first time, so possibly it has to do with aging a little bit more, which is kind of ironic because I'm about to say that it smells a little bit more like a newer whiskey. Just not underaged per se, but think of like a Scotch that's, I don't know, aged like not 12 years, you know, something with like a no age statement on it. It's got that little bit of a raw kind of nose to it. Something you can tell that it hasn't quite spent enough time in the barrel. That's what I get from this, but you do get lemon and like a citrusy note. It does have some sherry, so it's I believe it's matured in PX sherry casks, and you get a little bit of that, but I don't get it a ton. Certainly not as much as you would expect, having been finished. So, that's interesting. I actually wrote that I smell a little bit of peanut butter. Let me see. No, I'm not getting that this time. And the last thing that you end up smelling is smoke. So it's interesting to see this is almost backwards to what the Ardbeg 10 was, whereas that was very, very prominent with the smoke at the front. It got milder as you went. This one goes the exact opposite. You start with lemon, which is about as mild as you get, and then it ends at smoke. So interesting way that it goes. But cheers. Very nice. The taste is, it's not as oily as the 10, and I know I don't think I even said that, but the 10 and specifically these guys, you start getting a little bit more oiliness to it. It's just got that, you know, kind of a lot of fatty acids in there. So it's not as oily, and it's almost thin, if you want to think about it that way. It's not my favorite of the 4, but it is good. So let me just kind of review my notes here. Of course, this is the one I told you I haven't actually put out the video on yet, so this isn't as fresh in my memory as it could be. Interesting. I wrote that I'm getting chocolate in the taste. Let me see if I can get that again. Not as much today. Things are always different when I'm on a live stream too. It could very well be the different kind of situation. I tend not to get nearly as much nosing or flavors out of things when I'm doing the tasting. It could be also that I typically drink like 4 or 5 different drams. You know, going from the 10 to anything that's supposedly mild to start off with. Actually, realistically, I should have started with this, but the 10 just makes more sense. I do get a little bit of black pepper in there, which is interesting too. And that's kind of coming along right next to the smoke. So let's see what's going on in the chat here. I've been hiding the chat to check out my notes, so I'm missing what you guys are saying. Let's see. Brought home from Ardbeg, the Ardbeg Kildalton Cross and Ardbeg Perpetuum. Very nice. Let's see, who else we have in here? Oh, Thomas retracted a message. I'm a little curious now. Let's see. Finished a bottle of that 2 weeks ago. I'm guessing you meant the no. Talisker 6. Would love to buy all the Ardbeg in the world, but being a poor student, have no money for them. Cameron, if I could help you, I would, buddy. It's I don't know. I wish I could send you all samples, honestly. You know what would be a really cool show, although I'd never see this happening, is if let me back up for a minute. When I first started the channel, every single time that I did a video, I would tell you what I was going to do next. And the reason I stopped doing that was actually a particular episode, which if you've ever gone through my backlog, you may have noticed. I don't remember which video it was, but I basically teased that I was going to cover the Balvenie 12. And I borrowed a bottle from my dad, and if he's still watching, he'll know this story, but I borrowed a bottle from my dad. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a video on this. At the time, it was, still pretty new, and I was buying every bottle I was getting, and I was getting no real income from the channel. So it was like, spending $60, $70 per bottle wasn't really an option. So I was borrowing a lot. Either way, I totally just drank the Balvenie 12 instead of doing the review on it. Ended up giving him back, probably about half of what he gave me, and I still never filmed. I had every intention of doing it, and part of that bottle disappeared while I was researching for my episode. But I stopped saying what I was going to do next because I also realized that, hey, I'd like a little bit more flexibility if I decided to change my mind. But anyway, I'm sure I was going somewhere with that, but whatever. Oh, yes, so where I was going with that is that it would be fun to... And I tried to do this in June with that whole Whiskey of the Month thing, trying to be like, hey, everybody go buy Knob Creek and let's all drink it together with that last video of the month. And it actually did get some traction. Some people did go buy the bottle, but it didn't feel as engaging as I had hoped it would be. So, when I put out the video, a lot of people, I did get actually a significant amount of comments of saying like, hey, I went and bought this bottle and I drank it with the video, but it wasn't live. Like, it would almost make more sense to do like, hey, at the end of this month, I'm going to do a live stream. Let's all go buy the bottle. So maybe I'll try that in the future. I don't know. Would you guys be into that? Sounds like it'd be fun. Takes me 5 days to recover from jet lag. Now I'm busy editing my photos and video. Yeah, I'm actually excited to watch whatever videos you put out, Eric. That'll be really cool. Next 2 days. Okay, cool. I'll keep an eye out for that for sure. Let's see. How many we got in the stream? We got 43. Excellent. That's cool. I like that. Especially for such a last minute thing. That's a great number. Plus I see a lot of familiar faces in here. Ardbeg standard line is structured well. I agree. Actually, it's one of the better put together lines. I completely agree. You get that a little bit more in Scotch, I think, than with bourbon. With bourbon, I find that it'll be like, let's take Wild Turkey for example. Actually, they're a good example of this. They've got the Wild Turkey 80, and then they've got the 101. Then they have the Wild Turkey Rye 80 and the 101 or 100, or I think it's a 101. And then they've got a couple of other ones beyond that, but they're more like I forget the one that it's like a really fancy bottle. It's kind of got the little feathers going on. That was like jazz hands. Anyway, Wild Turkey is kind of a good example of somebody who did a line, but it doesn't feel as cohesive as this does in that it's predictable. Like, this is the 10-year to start off with. Then the Anno, which has this whole, you guys might not even know this, the whole reason that they call it Anno is because it's a way of saying like I know, but they have a little video on their channel where they're just like, like, hey, did you hear that Ardbeg has a new expression? No, so that's kind of where that comes from. I would love to do a backyard live stream. I actually did one for about 20 minutes or so while I was kind of waiting for my family to come home. A big problem there is that if I were to go do it right now, it's pitch black outside, and I would get eaten alive by mosquitoes and or moths and whatever. So it's not really worth it. If I ever find myself at home and my family's not here, or if I take a day off or something like that, I will 100% do a live stream from my porch or my deck. It's actually brand new. I had it built in September of last year, and my wife and I have barely spent any time on it. 2 young kids will do that. You don't really have a whole lot of time to do anything fun. I mean, they're great. I was almost late for the live stream because they were not going to bed. Do I get a certain Ardbegginess from their whiskeys? Something that is typical of a character of Ardbeg? Absolutely. This has a significant amount of Ardbegginess. I would say it's as Ardbeggy as an Ardbeg could Ardbeg. Anyway, I would be into a monthly live stream. I don't have it. Oh, it says my stream is bad. Crap. Hopefully you guys aren't cutting out too much. shoot, what's it called? YouTube. Let me know. Are you guys experiencing some lag on my side? Let me see if I'm accidentally downloading something or. Well, hopefully I'm back. Let's see. Come on, come back. Okay, cool. I'm back. All right, cool. I think you guys are about to see me go out, and then that's so weird. Like, so a little behind the scenes here. So YouTube has this obviously live stream, right? And some of you may even know it because I know some of you are whiskey tubers, but they just changed things so you don't have to select your bit rate, which is how fast you are streaming to the site. And based on that, it kind of expects that speed. And they just took it away because realistically speaking, I've told you all I'm a software engineer. There's really no sense in doing that. If you're saying, hey, I'm going to be giving you this much data and it's constantly looking for that much data and then you're not passing that much data, it's going to degrade faster rather than just being like, this is how much data I'm getting. Let's do the best with it that we can. I hope that came across clear. But like, long story short, I'm shocked that they ever even did that. And maybe it's just for people who are with a much faster internet connection than me, passing 4K through their cameras, or who knows. Just to clear off my dome. You suck. Maybe I should wear a hat, get one of those whiskey in the 6 hats, but I don't look good in hats. Very, very rare that I find a hat that looks decent on me. Have I tried the Plantation 20th Anniversary Barbados rum? No. I have exactly one rum in my cabinet, and I bought it because one of my one of my friends who's like maybe 25, she was like, hey, I really want some Captain Morgan. So bought some Captain Morgan. Wow. Tom R, that sounds pretty good. How much does a bottle of that cost? I have no concept of like what good rum is. Like, if I wanted to know something about rum, I would probably find a rum tuber, if you want to call it that. There was actually a period of time where I was considering expanding this channel to be different kinds of things, like rum or vodka or whatever else kind of spirits, gin. My thought being that it would be cool to, not necessarily me, but to have like a network of different, the gin dictionary or the rum dictionary or something like that. Actually, one of my friends kind of did say that he liked rum enough that he would consider it. He wanted to call the show The Rum Runner, which I thought was great. Didn't really follow through on it, unfortunately, but that was something that I kind of thought about. So $45 to $50 for a bottle of rum is like, once again, is that expensive? Is that not expensive? It sounds totally reasonable, whether it is or isn't, especially considering I'll spend $100 on a bottle of whiskey, but that would be interesting. So what is that called? That's Plantation 20th Anniversary Barbados rum. That got better the longer that you went. So we're about halfway through the stream here, and I'm about halfway through my whiskey, so that's good. Up next is the Uigeadail, a word that I had to look up more than a couple times to properly pronounce. So one thing that's funny is that in doing these whiskey reviews, you start realizing that you might have absolutely no clue how to... I have not said yet Thomas Black, but I totally will. You start noticing that you have no idea how to say certain names of certain whiskeys. And something, as complicated as Uigeadail, which Uigeadail. I mean, come on. You look at that and you might just be like, what does that even mean? So let's see. This is the bottle here. Let me just make this a little bigger. That's the wrong piece. Crap. What did I do? I shouldn't play with things. That's the Ardbeg Corryvreckan. This is the Uigeadail. So check this out. Hopefully this comes across good. So we've got the Uigeadail there. That's how you spell it. It's like, how would you even take a guess at that? Uigeadail. Anyway, so I found a website that is very good actually at helping you to pronounce random words that you might not recognize. So Anyway, oh, cool. That is good. It does show it when I move around. So this is a total aside, and I realize I'm all over the place tonight. I did tell you I basically had nothing really to talk about other than just Ardbeg. I mostly just wanted to hang out with you guys and drink some whiskey. But you may remember a while ago, I'm trying to remember which, I think it was something I was doing on a Johnny Walker. I was doing, maybe it was like a Johnny Walker Black or something. Like it was some video I was doing. And I'm actually going to reproduce it here because whoops, oh boy, don't do that. You guys are about to see something funky. So I had a bottle of Johnny Walker Red, kind of like off camera like this. And I brought it over here and I went like, actually, I'm not doing it right this way. I was like, you know, whatever. But I moved it around instead and it didn't register and it didn't show that I was moving it around because I wasn't dropping it and dragging it. Either way, it totally just looked like me just going like, at absolutely nothing. And it was stupid and it was dumb. Anyway, let's get into talking about this whiskey. Boy, how do you guys even watch me? I am so all over the place. All right. What do we got? Uigeadail is the name of a pond near Ardbeg. Ano is the name of a little hill on a reef which somewhat acts like a windbreak for the cove in front of the docks of Ardbeg. Yes, I do know that, and I remember that from the video review that I have not posted yet. Good point. All right, the Whiskey Throttle. Drive safe, buddy. But yeah, definitely keep me on. I'll keep you entertained, at least for the drive home. Hopefully it's not super long. All right, so here is the Uigeadail, which this is when I started getting a little bit more excited about Ardbeg, because at the Ardbeg 10, you realize that, hey, this is almost gimmicky in that it just tastes like peat. But then once you actually start realizing that peat can be as much of an accentuator as it can be what it's all about, like if you think of a Laphroaig is more of an affordable version of Ardbeg, as I said, it can be an accentuator. So if you do it right, you can get a whole lot of complexity in there. And Uigeadail is kind of where complexity is not, it is the right word, but as far as like nosing and tasting, like it doesn't come across in there. It's something you just have to taste. So anyway, let's go ahead and nose this guy. So the biggest deal here is the sherry. It's once again, I believe it's finished in sherry casks, and it smells like it, unlike the Ano. Now this has a much higher ABV, I'm sure of it, just 54.2. So yeah, you're talking 108.4 proof. So I mean, that's something you don't want to stick your nose too deep into. Something I believe I told you guys this before, but if you nose while keeping your mouth open, you don't get as much of the alcohol burn. I will actually totally give credit to one of my commenters for teaching me that lesson. Don't remember who it was, but I'm not going to pretend I came up with that myself. So, you get almost zero smoke on this guy. It's almost interesting to learn that, like, if you gave me this and told me it was an Ardbeg afterwards, it would, like, if I didn't know, I would believe it after the fact, but I would be a little surprised for sure. One of the main things I'm picking out of this is cherry though, and that's something unique to, I believe, pretty sure just to this. It's a really good nose, actually. If you can get past that alcohol burn, it's pretty good. So anyway, cheers. So the taste is very smooth considering it's 108. It's surprising. It could have been a lot worse. And I've certainly tasted higher proofs or lower proofs that are harsher. And that is one thing I think Ardbeg does well, because if I remember correctly, the Corryvreckan is also pretty high. This is 57.1. Also why I did the things in the order I did them. Part of me remembered, I should get rid of this. Part of me remembered that it was higher alcohol the further that you go. So as far as taste goes, this is one of the first Ardbegs where the taste of smoke is as prevalent, or I should say more prevalent than it is in the nose. It's almost the first thing I taste here. And I'm also getting some kind of like raisiny flavor. You know, it's hard to describe. It's almost, what do you want to say? To me, it's really hard to describe what a raisin tastes like. I know you've all had them, but like in tasting them in a whiskey, it's almost like when you chew on a raisin. It's not the taste of the raisin when it's dry in your mouth, it's when you chew on it, and that little, like, the guts of the raisin that come out. That's what this tastes like to me. Man, describing whiskey is weird. All right, let's catch up on the chat a little bit. I've been ignoring you guys a little bit. So somebody asked me, is the Uigeadail delicious? And the answer is absolutely. This totally is something I would recommend you get. I think this is an experience as much as it is delicious. So it's something that I would recommend. Sounds like my nightmare is getting chased through the streets by Johnny Walker Red. That for me, I've got a little bit more to that. So yes, getting chased by the Johnny Walker Red. But if you guys ever, and I mentioned it in one of my recent videos, if you ever think to go check out that video again, the Johnny Walker Red video, there are so many diehard Johnny Walker Red fans out there. It's insane. Like, people legit like have either unsubscribed or chosen not to subscribe to my channel because I've trashed Johnny Walker Red. I mean, I'm the whiskey dick. I'm not the whiskey nice dude. So I don't know, whatever. Hey, Swami's here. Thanks for dropping in. I don't know if I caught you before you left, but either way, nice to see you. Swami did recently hit that 1,000 subscriber. I know that most of you were probably in the stream that night that we kind of put him over the top. He's been enjoying that, reveling in it a bit. Cherries are in a lot of bourbons. That's absolutely true. And actually, it's one of the reasons I like bourbon. I love cherries. Cherries are one of my favorite fruits for sure. Also, kiwis. Question of the day. What is your favorite fruit? If you were a fruit, what kind of fruit would you be? Yeah, raisin guts. Yep, I'll have to buy it now. Love it. Yeah, all right. So anyway, people generally kind of laughing at me a little bit, but that's fair. It is very hard to describe this stuff. I'm not lying when I say that when I try this stuff for my reviews, I literally just like sit in a room alone. Sometimes it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I'll just sit there with all maybe not always the lights off. Sometimes I've turned off the lights. I try to remove as much external stimulus as I can, and I just concentrate on my mouth or my nose. And it helps. It doesn't always help too much, but it helps a lot more than trying to do it live on a live stream. I have a Johnny Walker Red miniature unopened. Should I open it and try it? Have you ever had Johnny Walker Red, Richie? Because if you haven't, then yes, because I think you and I will both have a laugh about how terrible it is. Or you'll tell me that it's not so bad and you and I can't be friends. My favorite fruit is fermented grapes. If I was a fruit, I'd be a watermelon. Yes, Eric is a sommelier, and it's just a fun word to say. I'm not insulting you, Eric. Actually, Eric is one of the more knowledgeable guys on the whiskey tubers for sure. Also, I love his passion for what he decides to do. He actually he takes the time to kind of learn way more than most of us do about pretty much anything he's interested in. So, Richie, definitely do it. Open it up. Do it. Do it. Strike him down. Sorry, that was a terrible impression. It's easier to concentrate and pick out details when you aren't bombarded by folks in the chat room. That's also true. So, Mr. Bojangles, I can't remember whether I've seen you in the chat or not before. I feel like I might have, but I know that you're not necessarily a regular. Either way, I appreciate you showing up tonight. I'd be interested to know if this is your first live stream or not. That is also true, Tom. I'm not much of a dancer, especially because you guys can't tell this. I'm totally wearing gym shorts right now, and it would look real funny if I stood up. Pretty sure they're covered in paint, and you guys can't tell. I could just be not wearing pants. Who would care? Who would know? So this is the Corryvreckan, which is my personal favorite of the core Ardbeg line. Somebody asked me earlier whether I prefer the Uigeadail or the Corryvreckan, and the Corryvreckan is my answer. I think they're both totally worth your money, though. That being said, you guys might not actually be able to see this, but this one's the Corryvreckan, this one's the Uigeadail, and I like these both. And look how much more is gone out of the Corryvreckan. I think, yeah, I mean, I can see that on the screen, so I'm sure you guys can too. I taste a lot more Corryvreckan than I do Uigeadail. All right, let's see. Technical term for you is geek. Yeah, that's true, and I would agree. I'm a geek in many other ways as well. All right, let's see. What else? It's really weird looking at a whiskey which has been put in a relatively new used cherry cap. Sorry, the 54% is starting to hit me a bit. It's really weird looking at a whiskey which has been put in a relatively newly used sherry cask. Seen one which looked like rosé. Interesting. Okay. I'm glad to hear that, Mr. Bojangles. It's nice to have you here. Eric's dancing's great. I'm waiting for your comment, Richie. I'm dying to hear what you say about Johnny Walker Red. All right, so we've got the Corryvreckan here. So let's go into the nose. So I will say my memory was a bit off earlier when I said, I think I said something to the effect of Corryvreckan being almost light. It is the furthest thing from light. And actually, I'm remembering my review right now because the main thing that I said was that this was like seaweed on a shore at night. So if you think about what that could possibly smell like, it's wet and it's briny and it's got a dampness to it that's almost something that you don't want to smell, but trust me when I say that this is pretty good to smell. I know I'm really selling it well, huh? Yeah, you know, maybe I do need to watch Ralphie's review of Johnny Walker Red. And, you know, I make fun of it as much for the joke as I do for the realistic fact that I personally just don't love it. I find it gross. There's some gunk inside. I find that there's other ones that are worse for sure. Like Black Velvet was worse than Johnny Walker Red, I think. But I just happened to pick Johnny Walker Red to be my joke whiskey. And fun fact, I'm doing a flight of Ardbeg tonight. The next live stream I do, or maybe the second to next one very soon, I'm actually going to do a flight of all of the core line of Johnny Walker. So I'm going to start with the red and work my way all the way to the blue. And I'm actually really excited to do that. I almost did that tonight. So here is the Corryvreckan, in case anybody would like to know. And I'm going to cover my big dumb head with it right here. So if you look, there's the whirlpool is right in the middle. And Corryvreckan is a whirlpool that exists near Islay. Anyway, I'm just catching up on the chat here. This is pretty exciting. I poured the mini and letting it sit in the glass for a few minutes. Oh yes, you need to let a quality whiskey like that breathe. It'll really do it justice. If you're not in the chat, or if you're watching this in the future and you don't have the live chat open, you should attach whatever you're streaming. Check out the live chat, because I'm very curious doing this live to know what Richie's going to say about the Johnny Walker Red. I'm almost more interested in that than I am in drinking this, but I'm not. So here is to you guys. Here's to you guys. I almost didn't say cheers. Cheers. Oh man, I love this whiskey. This is so good. Corryvreckan is just so good. I would drink this. It's not my favorite, but it's really, I would say top 10. Yeah, I would say top 10. It's going to be like 8, though. It's not going to be like 3. I will tell you that Glenmorangie Signet is going to be top 5. That's so good. Let's see. Johnny Walker Red equals my excess of scotch. Let me think. Your excess of scotch. Harsh? Yeah, I guess harsh, cheap, and You wouldn't even pass off to your best friend or something. I don't know, to your worst enemy. I don't know. So there's a joke there somewhere. I've had too much of this to make a good one. Usually a little bit more witty than that. Let's see. So Eric's saying, I drove by where the Corryvreckan occurs, but it isn't always active. Oh, that's interesting. Actually, I didn't know that. Even in all the research, it didn't see anything about that. The weather in Scotland was atypically fantastic. That's good. It was like I brought California. Yeah, I did notice that in some of your pictures. It was extremely sunny and bright, and actually your pictures were fantastic. You did a very good job with your composure and everything. I was a little surprised that you weren't even touching those up. I mean, they were well lit and framed and all that stuff. So you did a very good job. I don't know if you consider yourself much of a photographer, but either way, you did a good job. What I use, what are you asking, Tom? Are you asking the Corryvreckan, or are you asking about the Johnny Walker Red? So Jeremy's saying he's actually done a flight of the Johnny Walker before with his dad. He found the green and platinum, the 18-year, to be more similar than I expected. Interesting. I really do like the green, as you guys probably saw from my review somewhat recently. It's better than I would have expected. I was a little bit surprised when I tried it again. I'm wondering, I know that they stopped making the green for a while. I'm guessing they just ran out of whatever they were sourcing. But when they came back with it, it was not quite what I remembered. And part of that could be just because at this point I've had so many different types of whiskeys that I've got a way more refined palate, but it still didn't taste the way I remembered. Like, I remember trying the Johnny Walker Green the first time and just immediately saying, this is my favorite whiskey I've ever had. And this time when I tried the Johnny Walker Green, I actually had it with my dad, and I talked it up before we even poured it. And then when we both had it, we both had the same look on our face. We were just like, this isn't very good at all. And I will say after a couple of weeks, it got way better. So maybe it's just something that needs to be exposed a little bit to air. Maybe it's something to decant, Actually, there's very few times where I would recommend decanting a whiskey. And depending on how long you're planning on having that around, that could be a good option. Anyway. All right, so let's see. Has Richie actually had it yet? Excuse me. Corryvreckan and Dark Cove CR are my favorites. I think they're very similar. That's good to hear. Johnny Walker Red is used to light the barbecue. There's a weird yellow thing in the sky that passed a few. Oh, yeah. All right. They ran out of Kalila, from my understanding. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Saying you ran out of Kalila for the Johnny Walker Green. How much did the Corryvreckan cost you? It's $160 Australian. Man, you guys get screwed so hard. Actually, so Hugh, I have a very, very, very important question for you. Are you listening? I'm talking directly to you. Name me some Australian whiskeys I need to get my hands on, because I know that Australia makes good whiskeys. In fact, you guys have won some awards somewhat recently. I just don't know any of them. And I would really love to cover some Australian whiskeys. I feel like I would probably be the only person on YouTube to do like which Australian whiskeys should you drink, kind of videos similar to my definitive beginner guide things. Now, given I haven't had nearly as many Australian whiskeys, so I think it's 0. But I would like to get my hands on a few and make some opinions. Maybe I could do top 5 or something like that. Either way, please, for the love of God, give me some suggestions of things to try. So, okay, so Richie's giving it a shot. We're doing a play-by-play here. Let's see. Richie, does your phone still work? Did you spit it out? Is your phone shorting out as we speak? So Whiskey Throttle, you have 2 bottles of the original Johnny Walker Green. Is it different? Do you know? Are they unopened? I'm guessing they're unopened, but I'm actually very... All right, so Lark. I don't have a pen. I'm going to have to go back and watch this. Let's see. Sullivan's Cove, Lark. Those are some options. Johnny Walker was made as a troll scotch. Yeah, so somebody asked me. Sorry. I don't have a good opinion on what these cost. I got them all as a sample from Ardbeg. So I think that all of these, I think the Corryvreckan is the most expensive if I remember correctly. The Uigeadail might be like 85. This might be 95. I think the Ano is 60 and the Ardbeg 10 maybe like 55. They're all under $100 for sure. Some of them are like half that, but either way, I can't give you a good example of what I paid for them because I didn't pay for them. Anyway, so let's see. What's the verdict? Johnny Walker Red was made as yeah, all right. So all right, so Sullivan's Cove is coming up, and so is Lark. Jeez, sorry, I forgot to turn the buzzer off on my phone. I'm sorry if that keeps coming through. Equivalent to gasoline. All right, here we go. So it's harsh in the entry and mid palate. All right, doesn't get better in the finish, I'll tell you that. Man, I could drink this all night. So, as I said in the video itself, I'm only going to go till 10 o'clock, which is about 3 minutes from now. So, I'm going to annoy you guys for a minute. I shouldn't really say that. Honestly, I'm actually like really excited about this, but I guess I feel a little guilty about it because you guys are very supportive of me in the past. A good portion of you have given me super chats and whatever, but you've probably noticed if you're ever watching on a desktop that directly below the video, right above the comments, there is a new bar and it's a bunch of t-shirts and stuff like that. So I actually went to that website Fiverr.com and I had some people design me some whiskey related t-shirt designs. I realized that the name Scotch, bourbon, whiskey, they're not trademarked, they're not registered, nor should they be. They're just words. So I threw them on a shirt. You know, I actually really love the way that the bourbon one came out, and I also love the shirt that says coffee black whiskey neat. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, I've got one of those on order on the way to me. I've also obviously got the Whiskey Dick t-shirts. These are a little bit different to wear. I've given these out to a few people, and I know that I've sold a few of these as well. But in general, like I've given these to some people when I go to events to have kind of my entourage following me around. But the coffee black whiskey neat shirt, I'm actually pretty excited about. I think that's cool, and the bourbon one does look really cool as well. The Scotch and the whiskey one look great as well, and so does the heart with the Glencairn out of it. But personally, I'm probably gonna buy or I have or will buy the bourbon and the coffee black whiskey neat. So if you guys are interested in supporting me, and you'll see this in the video coming out on Friday, it would be awesome of you to buy a t-shirt. That is something that can give you value, and it's something that gives me value, and it allows me to do cooler stuff on the channel. So what I'm trying to do right now is kind of fundraise, because at the moment I want to improve my gear. I want to do some trips. I want to do a whole bunch of cool stuff, and I don't mind obviously kicking in some of my own money, because of course I would, you know, who cares? It's me. But like, I would love it to be able to have the Whiskey Dick be completely self-sufficient. And so far it has been. But if I'm going to do trips to cool places, you know, I would love to go to Scotland and actually do exactly what Eric Waite did for like a week or a couple weeks or whatever. And my wife is in support of this, but I'm not going to use, you know, my family's funds when I could use Whiskey Dick funds. So anyway, what I'm saying is that if you're interested in one of the shirts, it would actually help me a lot if you felt like buying one. And frankly, you know, like I don't put crap out there. The t-shirts that I've picked, you know, I've bought them myself. This one has been through the wash like 40 times because I wear this everywhere that I go when I'm representing the channel. It's still as black as night. So anyway, that's my pitch. So check out the stuff below. It's actually probably even below this stream. You might have seen it. All right, let's follow up with the chat here. I've got, yeah, it's 10 o'clock. I'll just kind of follow up with some of you guys and then probably hop off. So let's see. Richie Z posted a review of, all right, let me see. So we've got, I guess I missed Richie's initial review. All right, so he says, there's definitely caramel coloring in this. The nose is low ABV. There's a hint of pear in it. But also something weird in there. Also definitely grain as well. You know, and I do think the grain whiskey is probably what gives Johnny Walker Red a lot of the harshness too. If you don't do grain whiskey right, it can smell really bad. Anyway. Richie Z, thank you for that. Letting me know he did that above. I would have totally missed that. The finish is short and the harshness is still there. No way that, let's see. Holy crap, this really does suck. It's like drinking nothing. My motto is coffee in the morning, whiskey in the evening, pray all day. And yeah, well, Eric does the whiskey church. Do you do that on those on Sunday, Eric? It would make sense. New t-shirt idea: coffee 3 pump, vanilla 2 pump, caramel, and whiskey Johnny Walker Red. Wait, what? Coffee 3 pump, vanilla 2 pump, caramel, and whiskey. I don't quite get that. Maybe it's not coming across well. We should do a meetup in Kentucky and tour distilleries. It'll be there for a few days following Christmas. That's definitely a possibility. I've considered doing the bourbon trail with some of you guys, some of the whiskey tubers, and whoever else wanted to join us. Anyway, all right. So it's 10:02. I'm going to sign off. I really wanted to keep this at an hour. So thank you all for joining me here. I have really, really enjoyed my time. Honestly, just hanging out with you guys. I hope you all have an awesome 4th of July. And America, fuck yeah. Have a good night.